No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Or good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to the show. We're happy to be part of your day, and we're certainly happy for you to be part of ours, and all that happy stuff. Anyway, special shout out to Fight TV and all of our viewers watching us on Fight TV. We're glad to be part of Fight TV's programming, and don't forget, you can take us with you. Yeah, you can take us with you wherever you go, because Fight TV has an app that's perfect for your handheld device, including your phone. Check it out. Go to fight.tv. That's FITE.tv/Billy C. Download the app right now for free and check out the show on Fight TV. I also want to give a special shout out to a new affiliate of ours, WGIG AM in Brunswick, Georgia. Hey, we're glad to be part of the sports programming on WGIG. So welcome all of our new listeners from Brunswick, Georgia, and the areas surrounding. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. We're being invaded by the Georgians. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Find out why we go crazy over Sal's food. And you can give my man a call, especially if you're in the St. Simons area, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328, and trust me, it's best pizza around, no matter where you are, not just Georgia, even New York. Trust me, I went and tested it myself. Hey, don't forget, if you're heading south on I-95, you can stop off at Sal's. It's a 15-minute detour off of I-95. 15 minutes, that includes stopping for a light or two. So if you run the Reds, hey, you get there quicker. Go to the website for the address, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next big fighting event, their next big fight card, I should say, which is taking place March 11th. It's a Saturday. It's an HBO event. It's a great matchup between David Lemieux and Curtis Stevens. I'm going to be ringside. I want you to be ringside, too. So get yourself some tickets. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster, which is right on the right-hand side. And then drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and let me know where I can meet you so you can buy me some scotches. You know, I'll be thirsty. Today's show is also being brought to us by the Title Bout Championship computer game. So check that out. Download a copy right off the website. It's on the left-hand side. And today's show is being brought to us by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all great books are sold. And you can get a copy while you're watching or listening to the show right now by going to BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. This is a great book, and it's a perfect book for Black History Month, as this is not only Black history, but American history and boxing history. Check out the book. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux the recognition he deserves. Coming up a little bit later on the show, we got Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard set to join us, and we got some stuff to talk to him about. We're also doing this week's Blast from the Past as per request. Now remember, we will do blast from the past that you guys request. All you got to do is drop me an email, just like any other email. Like we got a bunch of other emails we're going to read. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, drop us an email. If you take the time to write it, we'll take the time to read it. Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. This week's Blast from the Past is the Flushing Flash. Kevin Kelly, former world champion. Alex Papali will join me a little bit later and go over that. A couple of things I want to talk about. Tuesday night fights. We'll get some quotes from Bob Arum. We'll wonder if he's telling the truth. Well, speaking of quotes, I got some quotes from Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia leading up to their big fight in a couple of weeks from the Barclays Center. And one of the topics today is Deontay Wilder is fighting another cupcake this weekend in Gerald, Washington. Now, I say cupcake because Gerald, Washington is on the rise. He hasn't even had a chance to develop, but yet they're throwing him in with who I think is a bit of a fraud in Deontay Wilder. My question is, does Washington have a chance? That's the question of the day. Joining me right now, ladies and gentlemen, he's a New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer. He's a Guinness Book of World Record holder. He can toss a pizza from here to the moon and back. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boys and girls. I think I reversed that. But anyway, you get the idea. Anyone who's got hearing, whether you can hear with a hearing aid or not, or one of those big tubes. You remember the big tubes? Used to? Anyway, please welcome the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Bill. I'll tell you, your introductions are getting better and better. I'll tell you, I'm going to make another comeback.
I think no, you're not. I think I think I'm a little dyslexic today. I'm saying
well,
things
that
backwards
happens sometimes. You know, whether we're reading from right to left, or just sometimes the way the words come out of my mouth as well. My tongue gets them backwards once in a while.
Yeah, well, okay, Slip.
But then again, I had over 100 fights to show that.
Well, you're also the Slip Mahoney of this show, so
You got it.
And
Obviously,
and obviously a lot of people that are probably under the age of I don't know 50 don't even know who that is. But
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Anyway, real quickly, Deontay Wilder against Gerald, Washington this weekend. Does Washington have a chance?
Of course he has a chance. I mean, he's got a chance. Every fighter that steps in a ring has a chance, and you never know, because any given night, something can happen and somebody could lose. But the odds are, and it's calculated in this matchup, obviously, is that Deontay Wilder should put on a decent display of his skills and show that he's going to be the better fighter, and he should probably beat this guy and maybe knock him out. But the bottom line is he does have a chance. Once you stepped into that square circle, that bell rings, you've got a chance.
Very diplomatically put.
Isn't that? I'm going into politics next.
Okay, well, you know, I liked the way you put it last time. Was well, we're gonna see how Deontay's hand and bicep and the little
broken hand,
his ingrown toenail. See how he holds up after this fight.
Well, we got to also see if he had his hair cut correctly. Because that would also affect his aerodynamic head movement.
There you go. I personally think that Deontay Wilder. Somebody had made a point to us previously that he seems to fight to his level of competition, which I agree with.
That's very interesting. Very good observation, because a lot of times a lot of fighters will do that.
Well, what I notice with him is when he knows he's fighting a guy that's doesn't have a chance, he goes out for the kill real quick, and then he gets criticized if he doesn't wipe him out pretty quickly. But the only guy he seemed to put together a game plan and break down was when he won the title from Berman Stavern way back when. And quite honestly, he's yet to face a top level heavyweight, even though there's really only 3 or 4 that I need to see him fight. Other than that, he could have a steady diet of cupcakes from now until it's over for him. I mean, that's just the landscape of the heavyweight division.
Yes, it is. And like I said, he's either going to put up or shut up, because after this fight, he's got to look at some big names that we're going to have facing him and hopefully getting in the ring with him. And then all of our answers will be, all the questions will be answered
See what
as
I'm
far
saying?
as his ability.
See what I'm saying? Everything's going backwards.
It went backwards. Let me rewind that. Okay.
So listen, last night there was a toe-to-toe Tuesdays, which I love.
I saw it.
I wish we have it on. I wish we had the fights every Tuesday, but now this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, because the main event, Miguel Flores was the undefeated guy who they were bringing up. They had fed him a steady diet of cupcakes, and he's being billed undefeated, and they put him in with a guy named Nigel, who's had been beaten 3 times, and he's already labeled a veteran, a journeyman,
or an opponent.
An opponent, right? Exactly. And the sad truth is that this guy is a good fighter. He's been in there very tough. The losses that he has had were against top-notch opposition, and the end result. And this has been my point, and I know you agree with me, Sal. These guys, the management and the promoters and the networks aren't helping their fighters at all by giving them cupcake after cupcake after cupcake, because after they get into that 20th win or so, they're forced to face a real fight, a real opponent. And this was the case last night. Miguel Flores steps in the ring with Nijin, and the end result, he got knocked out in the 6th round. Dat Nijin improves to 20 wins, 3 losses, with 7 of his W's coming by knockout. And Flores drops to 21-9. Big age difference. Nijin is 34, and Flores is in his 20s. What is this? First of all, what was your thoughts on the fight? I know it was a TKO stoppage. Lawrence Coldwell waved it off, but I thought that Nijin finished Flores off the way you should. What was your thoughts on the fight?
Well, it was finished, and we were talking the other day. Remember when you asked me about what I would do if like a Mayweather gave me an opportunity to fight for his title? Would I go soft and easy on him because I have a bank account now that's worth millions of dollars? No. You take the opportunity that's given to you, and you take it for the full ride, because it might be your first and your last time to shine. And that's what this guy, Dat Nijin, did. He had the opportunity. He knew he was in against an undefeated fighter who was considered an up-and-coming guy that's going to be one to contend with. He took the opportunity, said, hey, I'm in here, and I'm going to show what I could do. And he did. So I applaud him for that. And those last combinations, he just kept throwing punches. Hit him with a hook, hit him with a right, and he put him down, put him away.
Well, that's the way to finish.
That's the way to finish. You do not let a fighter get off the hook. You don't let him recover. You don't let him. Once you have him hurt, you know what? You just jump on him. Not jump on him, but you make sure your fists are connecting, and you put him out, because he can recover. And if he does, he's gonna come right back at you.
The point that I made earlier, the simple fact that because Flores has kind of been protected, this sets him back, and not only does it give him a loss, which you and I both agree that shouldn't end a fighter's career, no. But what does it do to a guy mentally, especially if he's believing that he's all that in a bag of chips or Doritos, whatever you prefer. If he thinks that, and then he loses to a guy that they're kind of, in his ear saying, oh, you're going to kill this guy, what does that do to their mental approach from this point on? Well,
and that what you just said is a great, great learning tool. And a fighter looks in the mirror every day, especially if he's undefeated. I was undefeated through my first 18 pro bouts, and I felt confident. Yeah, I mean, you're on a level that you feel confident. You can go in a ring with anybody on the planet, and you're going to come out the victor. And the bottom line is, when you have a defeat, you've got to really look long and hard and say, wow, I just lost my first fight. And, some fighters, I'm going to tell you something. Some fighters, it's almost like it's almost like an awakening, but now the pressure's off. You got rid of the O in your record, and hey, I don't care. I'm here now, and I can fight and still beat anybody. And I'm going to show them what I can do and how I can do it. Some fighters respond, and that's just the whole thing. See, people don't realize, but fighting is so mental. It's your psyche. It's whether you feel you can do what you have to go in there and do on a time in and time out, where it's not going to just be, oh boy, I lost my first fight, and you're going to go down the tubes. Now, it's very important. And then a fighter's psyche is very, very, very emotional and very important. And he's got to feel he's still the baddest man on the planet for his weight class, and he's got to come back and he's got to show what he could do. Other fighters, it's like fight or flight. They say, oh man, I had my first defeat. Maybe I'm not really as good as I thought, and they go down the tubes. Most fighters that are professionals can turn it around and say, hey, got rid of my O in my record, and I'm going to show everybody I'm still the number one out there, and I'm going to go and learn from this fight and go on and win.
They suffer their first defeat This guy took a couple of shots in the nose, too. But anyway, hey, listen,
did.
two other fights, and then we got to take a break. On this card last night, Darwin Price improved to 12-0 when he scored an 8-round unanimous decision over Highland Williams. And by the way, Highland Williams is another great example of what exactly we're talking about. Highland Williams was coddled up until his first loss, and then he's been put in tough after that. He drops to 16-4-1. The way the judges saw it, we're all the same, 80-72 in favor of Price. And in the super bantamweight division, Brandon Figueroa improved to 11-0 with 8 knockouts when he picked up his 8th knockout when he knocked out Raul Chirlino in the 4th round, 1 minute and 30 seconds to be exact. Chirlino drops to 10-5. That's what took place last night on Toe to Toe Tuesdays. Hey, listen, Sal and I will be back in about 2 minutes. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Check out the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, for all the information, especially boxing news that's fit to print. So, and then there's some other stuff on there as well. Joining me is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, a couple of things real quick. We were talking about the other day Manny Pacquiao possibly fighting Amir Khan now, even though Jeff Horn was the guy and blah, 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 and this and that. Well, Bob Arum, and keeping in mind that Bob Arum was famous for his statement that said, well, I was lying yesterday, but I'm telling the truth. Today, or yesterday, I should say, he said the Amir Khan story has come out of nowhere. He said it's total and complete BS. What's happening is Manny's talking to these people in Dubai who've offered him an insane amount of money. Whether the offer is real or not is still to be determined. We will explore it and see if it has any validity. That's all I can say. When he was asked about Manny Pacquiao fighting Jeff Horn in Australia in April, which has been the discussion, he said, well, that bout's still up in the air. Now, my question to you, Sal, is if Bob Arum is saying that Jeff Horn bout is still up in the air for Manny Pacquiao, I would think, I don't know about you, but I would think that he is taking, some interest in other offers. What do you think?
Well, we definitely could all be on the same page about that. And until it's signed, sealed, and delivered, and we see it, anything else could still happen. And money talks. And let me tell you, they have some serious dollars in Dubai.
There's no question about that.
No question. I mean, and I'm sure Dubai would love to have Amir Khan or so showcased there and Manny Pacquiao. But I'll tell you, and with good old Bob Arum, we all know what the WBA used to stand for. But he does have the final word on a lot of levels, on a lot of issues. And with Bob's approval, we'll see what he wants to do and what Manny Pacquiao is going to do. But like I said, the only fight I ever want to see Manny Pacquiao fight is against Floyd Mayweather.
I agree.
But that's the only reason he should have came back. This guy's been to the mountain and back several times. He's a warrior. He's a Hall of Famer. He's everything he needs to be, and a fighter's legacy will carry on. And all these other fights, really, to me, I don't see happening. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
in my opinion.
well, I
The
see
only
them.
fight that
I
makes sense is Floyd Mayweather.
I see them happening, but I agree
Well, I
they
see them
don't. They don't make
but what I'm
sense.
saying, I see them happening too.
We
yes.
got a couple of emails to read here before we go to break again. And this first one's from Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C, I had Granados winning 6-4, or maybe a draw, but no way did Broner win the fight. Broner should face Vargas, Jose Benavidez, or the Kell Brook, Errol Spence winner. Granados would give trouble to anybody, so he can face anybody in the top 20, maybe even Porter, Amir Khan, Jeff Horn, Peterson, or Vargas." It's a great point that Jesse makes, because I don't think Broner could beat any of the opponents in the welterweight division that Jesse makes here. I mean, his fight against Vargas, he could possibly beat Vargas because of Vargas's style, if he chooses to outbox him. But I don't see him beating any top welterweight. I really don't. He says, "Do you think Garcia Thurman is being promoted correctly?" I mean, I watch CBS occasionally and haven't seen any promos yet on TV. I don't see much promos on the internet either. What numbers do you expect? I expect huge numbers, because it's going to be on network television, and people are going to watch it. Promotion, I've said this a lot. Boxing and the way it's promoted these days, it's not being done correctly. Too many businesses put the emphasis on social media, which I get. I know it's a huge platform and reaches outrageous number of people. But when it comes to boxing, good old fashioned, and Sal, you and I have talked about this, especially for the live events. Good old fashioned fight posters in the neighborhood and meeting the fans is the best way. Social media is a great complement to that, but a lot of fight promoters rely 100% on social media, and I think that it's hurting the sport. As far as the CBS, I think you'll see more coming up next week. What happens with fights and television promos, even with pay-per-view, a lot of times they'll put it closer to the event. So it's not, somebody sees a promotion for it and they say, oh, that's in 3 weeks from now, and then out of sight, out of mind. So I don't know, but it is a good question. Don't you think so?
I think it's a great question. And like you and I have often talked about, the early days of grassroots promoting, as you said, the posters, give the fighters a handful of tickets, tell them to sell them to their friends, their family members, all this. Lou Duva was a master of it, I'll tell you. He provided entertainment, and he had the growing and a proving ground for a lot of world champions, including myself as a proving ground in the old Ice World in Totowa, New Jersey. And we had a sellout crowd whenever we would promote a main event fight or something else there, and it was all done by grassroots. And those little fights out of Totowa, New Jersey Ice World grew into Madison Square Garden, grew into Atlantic City, grew into other things. So the grassroots promotions gives a tie-in with the fan base to the fighter. And I think it's a great way to promote a fighter and to promote a venue of fights time after time.
Boy, has Lou DiBella dropped. He doesn't do any of that anymore. Jesse says, hey, Billy, what's your thoughts on Shun Kubo and his upcoming fight? Well, Shun Kubo, in case you guys don't know who he is, he's an 11-0, 8 knockout, 26-year-old junior featherweight or super bantamweight, however you want to look at. He's a southpaw. He's ranked at number 65 by the computer. He's all 11 of his fights. I mean, if you take a look at this guy, all 11 of his fights have been in Japan, and he's faced decent opposition overall. But that's based on their records, not who they are, because most of these guys you never heard of. I never heard of them. His next fight is scheduled for April against Neomar Cermino for Cermino's WBA Super Bantamweight title. Cermino is by far the best opponent it's faced. The computer has Cermino ranked at number 8, and I think that Kubo is going to be in all kinds of trouble in this fight. Now, should Shun Kubo beat Neomar Cermino, then I'll be singing a different tune. But I think this is a huge fight for him, a tough fight, and Cermino is no way in any shape or form along the lines of the opposition that Shun Kimbo has faced thus far. Good question from Jesse. He says, Billy, I agree with Dax that Angel Garcia is over the top and needs to shut up. He just keeps on talking crap and being discriminatory and racist doesn't help. He says he goes on triades on immigrants and all kinds of other stuff. He kisses Trump's ass too much that he wants to be like him. I'm just sick of all the negative stuff about Trump. That's not justified. There are, as far as Trump from a personal point, that guy's an idiot. His personality is just pompous, but I don't know. I think people need to give him a little more time. I mean, we aren't.
He's getting some things done.
Well, we aren't even out of February yet.
I know. Come on, the guy's had a couple of weeks, and he was doing things before his inauguration. So you know what? This guy's going to be a CEO of our country for the next 4 years, and I think he's going to do an excellent job because he knows how to delegate and he knows how to appoint the right people in the right position. So let's all just put our seatbelts on and let's make America great again.
Yeah, you better put your seatbelts on for him. But last thing Jesse wants to say is about 2 months ago, he said he saw a video interview in which Floyd said that the only fight he fought at what he calls his B level was Corrales and Gotti. The rest of the fights he brought his C level game only. He claims, this is Floyd, has not shown his A game as of yet. Jesse wants to know, do I believe that? I don't know if I believe it. Floyd is really trying to make himself out to be, the greatest fighter. I will admit, I have said that if Floyd challenged himself more throughout his career, that we would have gotten to see the real Floyd. I personally don't think we've seen everything Floyd could have done. Can he still do it now? No, he can't. But I think that Floyd really screwed himself and the sport of boxing by fighting the way he did. Safety first and running and so I don't know. I think that Floyd is creating himself to be way better than he was. Was he the top fighter of his era? Yes. Was he the top fighter ever? No. Another email. This was from my man Mitch. He says, "Hey Billy, when I worked for a boxing show, we used to get press releases all the time. 95% of the time was something like undercard fighter talking to the media via conference call at 1 p.m. Undercard fighter B talking to the media on the same call at 2 p.m. Next day, main event fighter talks to the media at 1, main event fighter, the A side talks to the media at 2, etc. He says each fighter on each day got about 45 minutes to an hour after the intros, etc., and responded to the Q&A from the media. The only difference I ever recall is that in some conference calls, we would have both fighters on the phone at the same time, where some arguing took place, but which was all good because it promoted a fight." He says, "I got a recent example." He says a recent example was the Thurman Porter call where both guys were on at once. He says, so year after year, fight after fight, the conference calls are basically with the fighters, and that's that. He says, but I have never witnessed something as this. And he forwarded me a press release that boggles the mind, Sal. It's a standalone international conference call featuring the nutritionist of Daniel Jacobs as we come close to the Triple G Danny Jacobs fight. No undercard boxers, no main event fighters, no special announcement, just an hour-long international call with the nutritionist. So the media is going to talk to him for about an hour about nutrition. I mean, I like Algieri. It's Chris Algieri, by the way, who's the nutritionist for him. He says, I like him, but really, Wednesday, that's today, as we record this show, Daniel Jacobs' nutritionist will be holding this international media conference call. I find this, and thanks for the email, Mitch, I find this hilarious, Sal. I mean, I think that Mitch is 100% correct. How the hell can you have a nutritionist on the phone? And quite honestly, is anyone in the media even interested in this? What do you think, real quick?
Well, as without me plugging the book I grew up with and abide by my nutritional background with my boxing career, Eat to Win. Thank you very much, Dr. Robert Haas. And, I that was my Bible of nutrition. And in that book, I really found the formula that worked best for me. And it was great, but I don't see Dr. Robert Haas or anybody that did that go on an hour-long international radio show talking why it's going to work and how it's going to work, especially, for an upcoming title fight that's going to be showcased on a big level against one of the toughest, most feared middleweight champions that have been in a ring in 50 years. So I think that it's a little bit of an advertisement showcase kind of highlight of what he wants to do and promote. But no, I agree. I don't see it having a place right now in the fight game.
I got 2 quick emails I want to read. Then we're going to take a break, and Sal will pick you up a little bit later. But first and foremost, my man Joel. I'll put this one aside because it has to do with some fights that are coming up this week. So I'll do that a little bit later with you, Sal. But this one's from Alex T. The other Alex, he says, "Thank you so much for the gift that you sent out for my participation in the challenge. I'd like to mention that the book was written by Bert Sugar. It's an illustration of the history of boxing. It's called The Great Fights." He says, "I love this stuff. These are the types of books I used to read when I got into boxing 30 years ago. The first chapter is about John L. Sullivan, Jake Kilrain fight, which is one of the greatest fights in boxing history. When I was a kid reading these books, it was almost like I was reading a book about Greek gods. Anyway, thank you for the book." And this is what's missing today. A lot of young boxing fans should read the history and learn about the history of the sport. And just once again, I appreciate the thank you. And I had already received thank yous from our other Didn't Miss a Week challenger in Joel. And congratulations one more time to Joel, Alex T., James Keister for winning December's challenge. And, of course, our year-to-date winner, Blakely, who also was very happy with his box of stuff that he got. But, hey, Sal, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got Larry Hazard. Then I got the blast, and then we're going to wake you up again and have you come back on and close out the show.
Okay, I'll be the Rip Van Winkle for the next hour.
You already are. We'll
absolutely.
We're taking a short break. We'll be back in 2.
See you later, guys.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Special shout out to all of our viewers on Fight TV and our newest affiliate, WGIG AM in Brunswick, Georgia. Glad to be part of your programming. Well, joining me right now is Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, what's up, Billy?
How you making out today, my man?
Hey, I'm enjoying this beautiful weather.
I know. Hopefully it's the end. I'm still looking at snow up here, but hopefully it's the end. It is getting warmer. But hey, before I get into asking you a couple of questions, I had a couple of emails directed to you. So let me start off with them, so you can respond to them. This first one is from my man Joel. He says, "Hey Larry, I was curious if you paid attention to the judging and refereeing of the UFC 208 pay-per-view card at the Barclays Center. Dax touched on it briefly. I was disappointed with the referee of the Holm Di Ramonde fight, following Jermaine to hit Holm after the bell on two separate occasions.
Right.
And the judge's scorecard of the Anderson Silva Derek Brunson fight. I feel the judges got that fight wrong. Do you think it'll take New York a long time to adjust the rules and regulations of MMA since it's fairly new in the state? He feels that they tend to need to reevaluate the judges and refs they hire for the MMA events in New York because they seem to be uneducated in these areas. It's not rocket science. I think it's more that these New York State Athletic Commission hirees are not exactly able to handle their respective duties. Holm has appealed the decision. Do you think she'll have success? What's your thoughts? And again, I know before you respond, I know your main concern is New Jersey, of course. But what's your thoughts on the email here from Joel?
Well, it's a fair question. It's a question that consists of several questions, of course. But in a nutshell, I think that because the sport is new to New York, it's going to take some time for them to adjust. However, when Tom Hoover was the chairman in New York, he did a very smart thing in that he came to us, he came to New Jersey, and he asked for our help in the recruitment of officials, since we're talking about the scoring specifically. I gave him a list of very, very competent MMA officials who had been here in the state of New Jersey, where I can proudly say that we have not had many major controversies in scoring. There happens to be a judge, and I'm not going to mention this individual, but he is a judge who was once an official here in New Jersey and is no longer a judge in New Jersey because we felt that this individual did not meet the standards that we had established here. That individual happens to be a judge that they hired in New York, and I'll go as far as saying that was one of the judges in one or two of those controversial fights. And this individual has been beat up pretty thoroughly over the last couple of years, in the MMA media. So, I'm not going to mention the person, but I can say that that individual has been identified, yet New York hired the person, and several of the very experienced officials that we recommended to New York, they they chose not to use, or perhaps even did not hire, because I don't follow these people around. But we were very forthcoming in trying to assist wherever we could with the officials. Of course, Mr. Hoover left the commission. He left even before, they could even establish MMA in New York at the time. But they were in the early stages. And so those who took over the reins there had other ideas, because there were several recommendations that we made to them that they did not, choose to follow. And of course, they have every right to do things their own way. They went and hired a young lady, to my understanding, who supposedly had or has experience, I guess, in the administration of MMA from Connecticut or somewhere thereabouts. So, I mean, it is what it is. I do believe that in time, the judging and the administration of MMA will improve in New York, because I have confidence that the commission certainly has made that a priority. But the judging was very poor, and there's been quite a bit of controversy over those bouts, whether the individuals who have sought to get some of those decisions overturned, whether they will be successful or not. Probably not. I think that the decisions as they are going to remain that way. But hopefully, if MMA is to be successful in New York, hopefully that situation will change soon. Because I do know that the UFC spent a lot of time and probably a lot of money through their promotion and everything else in getting MMA into New York, even to the detriment of New Jersey, because since they went to New York, they haven't been back to New Jersey. And I'll say very freely that New Jersey was very, very crucial in getting the UFC and MMA off the ground in the early stages. As a matter of fact, the unified rules were developed right here in my office in back 10, 12 years ago, when MMA was in its early stages. And we certainly hope that it's successful in New York. And I think over time, things will get better.
And I wouldn't worry about losing too many events in Jersey, because with the insurance thing going on, and UFC has announced that they're not going to deal with that in New York till they revise that since the last fight. So we'll see what happens. But here's another one for you. Now, let me just give you a backdrop on this one, Larry. I've been talking a lot about the discussed fight, or contest, if you want to call it that, between the possibility of a crossover fight between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And although I think it's a joke because Conor McGregor can't box, and
right.
Floyd Mayweather is a self-proclaimed best fighter ever, which I know you don't agree with, and I don't. I give him the credit that he's, the best, one of the best, if not the best of his era. It would be hard to make the argument that he wasn't. But one of my big arguments has been, how the hell could a commission allow a pro debut, forget about his MMA career, a pro debut fighter in Conor McGregor, who really hasn't demonstrated his ability to box as a professional, step in the ring with a 49-0 future Hall of Famer, self-proclaimed best ever? I mean, how does a commission even approve of that? And Jesse says he knows that all the money is going to make some changes, which he feels is disrespectful. And he said, can you ask Larry Hazard, what argument would Conor McGregor and the commission have to allow a fight like this versus a pro debuter against an experienced, high-caliber potential Hall of Famer like Floyd Mayweather? How would you approach that with the commissioner hat on?
Well, I'm glad you hit the nail right on the head, okay? Because that would be the ultimate test, okay, of any commissioner or anybody who has espoused the philosophy of health and safety for fighters, okay? Because to allow an event such as that, as a boxing event, there's been no discussion. This, in my view, in my understanding, is that it would be a boxing event where, in my opinion, this McGregor young man would not have the slightest chance against the so-called, greatest fighter ever. And it flies in the face of everything that we've ever talked about or even considered in terms of health and safety. How would a commissioner then have the gall to turn down, let's say, a matchup between a fighter who's 9-20 against one who's 20-0 or whatever? I mean, this would make, this to me is a clear insult to the sport of boxing, and without a doubt sends the message that it's all about money, okay? Because I don't see any other way in which you can justify approving a match such as that, other than the fact that it's supposed to make a lot of money, So that's the only way I can answer that. And as a commissioner, I would make my feelings known, and I really wouldn't even invite that type of contest into this state, even if it were about it.
First of all, that whole thing I look at in two ways. That the first is appalling because the unwritten special 50-0 retire. I mean, we know that there's been many fighters who have fought and won way more fights than 50-0 before they suffered their first defeat. The so-called record here is to retire undefeated and break the 49-0 record. With that said, how could that count as Floyd's 50th win against a pro debut fighter? He might as well fight me for his 50th win. I mean, it's the same, he'll have the same, test, it will be no test. And then my other part of that is the only way that I would accept that is if they define it, and many fighters did this in the past. Larry, you know this, the late, great Jack Johnson did it for years into his 60s. Classify it as an exhibition. Then everybody's safe. It doesn't, count. They can make their money. Everybody can have bragging rights. But an exhibition is a hell of a lot different than a fight that goes on record as being a real fight. What do you think?
Well, that makes sense, but it still doesn't address the more important. Then how do we go forward and justify regulation in terms of health and safety and all of the other stuff that we spew and that we talk about? How do you allow a contest between arguably the greatest fighter of his era against someone who has no boxing experience whatsoever? Okay, how do you justify that? And then continue to regulate the sport under the guise of being a regulator or being a regulatory body that has as part of its mission protecting the health and safety of the contestants.
Yeah,
How do you do that?
You can't.
You tell me.
You can't. And I'll tell you something. Whatever commission allows it, and I would assume that the Nevada State Athletic Commission would never allow it. And he's already licensed McGregor in California, and if they let it happen, which would be strange to even see Floyd leave Vegas at this stage, if they let it happen, they're going to be under all kinds of criticism. So, hey, this past week we saw a couple of fights I wanted to get your thoughts on. Adrian Broner fought Adrian Granados. I mean, it was a close fight. I don't think it was a robbery or anything like that. I personally thought Granados won the fight 96-94. But my question is that, first of all, Adrian Broner, to me, looks like a guy that he's lost his way, Larry. I mean, I guess I'm becoming the minority with him because I keep thinking, this guy had all kinds of talent when he was a lightweight, and he's just his dedication to the sport and his discipline has all went out the window. The weight issue is an indicator of that, but at 147, assuming he stays at 147, I don't see anybody in that division, a top fighter, that would have any trouble with Broner. I mean, this is a guy that, his value has gone way down. My question about the fight, well, first of all, what was your thoughts of his performance?
Well, first off, I never really thought that much of Broner.
I know we disagree on that. Every time I say I thought he had talent, you start off like, I didn't think he had much talent, which
I've always said it.
No, I know you have.
Yeah, and first off, I'll go all the way back. I was at the Barclays Center when Malignaggi beat him, okay? Although Malignaggi didn't get the decision, Malignaggi beat him, okay? And when I watched the young kid Porter really showed where he was lacking, okay? And now he's moved up to 147, okay? And he's fighting this kid here, this Granados, who I thought, okay, and this is one of the rare times I disagree with you, I thought that he did enough to pull it out, especially in that last round, okay? But here you're talking about, here's the joke of it all. He's fighting a sparring partner, number one, when they made the fight. I said, okay, if this ain't the most protected multi-champion that I can't even remember. I can't even remember, other than Malignaggi, some of the fighters that he's fought, okay? Yet, he's a multi-champion and all of this other stuff. Again, this is how we make a mockery of our sport sometimes, all right? But I'm not going to take that away from him. The fact of the matter is that he struggled with this kid, okay? He moved up to a weight class where certainly whatever power he had in the lower weight class, it's not going to help him any at 147, So, it's just a matter of time before somebody knocks Broner out, and then he'll be out of it altogether. But right now, he somehow is, a friend of mine said he's the most protected champion or so-called champion, multi-champion that he's ever seen in the sport of boxing. And, most of us, I'm sure, will agree. Can you remember who did he fight? I don't even remember, other than Malignaggi. It's hard for me to even remember when he fought or how he. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the way I treat. That's the way I treat Broner.
Well,
no disrespect.
No, I get it because I feel the same way when people talk to me about Floyd. Floyd won, and you remember all his accomplishments financially and undefeated and blah blah blah. But you can't think of any great fights that pop into your head because every one of his fights are boring. The only one that I remember is the Pacquiao fight because it was so. I mean, I remember all his fights, but I'm saying nothing pops into my head. But anyway, the fight with Granados and Broner, it just seemed like the scoring and even the punch stats were out of whack. It seems like no one is crediting body shots, and here. Obviously,
there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Granados worked the body all day, all night long, and at the end, those punch stats are showing that Broner threw more and landed more. And I'm like, what fight were they watching? I mean, I just don't get it. But a couple of things from the refereeing standpoint. I'm running out of time, so I want to get this in. The referee in the Broner Granados fight kept warning Granados, kept threatening to take a point away from him. And what I saw in that fight was Adrian Broner holding him constantly, instigating the hold and even pushing his head down. And the ref not once warned him. Shouldn't a referee have warned him for excessive holding?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. With the threat of taking away a point.
Yeah.
That's an infraction. Holding is an infraction.
I know. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then you see the other fight, which was the anti-Broner Granados fight, where they didn't give Granados any credit for working the body. Lamont Peterson, who's one of these guys that are clearly underrated, he put on a body work clinic against David Avanesian. And again, your guy Harvey Dock, in my opinion, was the difference maker here, because should he have been the type of referee that I can't stand, that break these guys up when they try to work the body, this fight wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been as exciting as it was. Harvey Dock let them fight. He kept himself out of the camera shot. He was in control for the whole fight, and we ended up getting treated to a bodywork clinic by Lamont Peterson. My only question about Lamont was that it seems to me that Lamont Peterson thinks too much in there. He's thinking before he does something rather than it becoming automatic. And now that he moves on, he's picked up a belt, is he going to be able to become more automatic? What's your thoughts on him? Because he certainly doesn't get tired. I mean, this guy looks like he could go 30 rounds.
Well, he runs 26 rounds, 26 miles. I was reading somewhere where the guy runs a marathon just like it's nothing. 26 miles.
I know.
Come on, man. Who does that?
I'm breathing. I'm breathing hard just thinking about 26 miles. What are you talking?
I read that. I was reading that, or either I heard it in one of the commentators say it, but it's obvious. You could see it. He doesn't get tired, and he does beautiful body work. And I'm glad that Harvey let him work the body. And even in the other fight, I was even saying, if this kid loses the fight, it's going to be because he's not getting credit for the body work.
Yep.
Which
he did.
I've said over and over.
Yeah. He didn't get the credit at all, and he should have. Another quick thing, because I got to take a break here, Larry. But in the other fight we saw on TV, Marcus Brown against Thomas Williams Jr., that was the fight where Marcus Brown hit Jr. while he was on the ground.
Yes.
Now, I need you, as quickly as you can, to explain to me if the referee was right or wrong. What it appeared to have happened is that he counted to 10. Which I thought was, I don't know. I didn't know. I was like, man, I can't wait to get Larry on. Shouldn't he have counted? And then he helped up the fighter. He helped up the fighter. Now, even though it was an infraction, even though it was a foul, why did he count all the way to 10? Why did he help the fighter up and then let the fight continue? I got really confused at all of that. What happened there?
Well, and the commentators even confused people more by, I wish these guys would just stick to commentating and stop trying to be officials, okay? Because they get it wrong when they say to the millions of fans watching, the referee did the exact right thing. He did not do the right thing. First off, number one, when the kid got hit, when he went down and got hit behind the head, he should have automatically called time right away. It was a foul. So the count stops. The referee How do you count the fighter out? When you count to 10, you've counted him out.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I'm sitting there, wait a minute. How does he let him continue? He just counted him out. You know what I mean? I don't get it.
Everything was contradictory to the rules, what the referee did. And there's the commentators talking about how he did everything right. He did everything wrong. As soon as the kid got hit behind the head, he should have timed. He should have called time. He should have admonished the fighter, if not take a point away from him, and then let the guy get up and give him the time to recoup. If he could not honestly have continued in the fight, then he would have been declared the winner by disqualification, because that was a clear foul. Okay? And it came seconds after he went down to the canvas. It wasn't like in the heat of the moment, the passion of the minute. He hit him like 2 or 3 seconds after he was down on the canvas.
It was mind-boggling to see what happened, and I'm glad you clarified it, because I got confused. You're right. The commentating confused me, and then when he counted him out, I figured, the fight's over. Then he helps him up. Then he calls time. Then he wanted them to start it as a third round. Remember? He says, let's start the next round, and the timekeeper's going, huh? You got time left. The
referee, as you know, he was a very inexperienced referee.
Oh yeah,
you could see that.
Oh yeah,
and totally confused. Totally confused.
Yeah, no, that happens. Hey, we gotta split now, Larry. I appreciate it, but one last quick comment. Roy Jones Jr., man, he's back, huh?
Back to where?
Yeah, back to, I don't know, man. He should get back to the commentating, because that was sad to watch. And, when Bobby Gunn at the end of the fight whispers in his ear, "Did I put up a good fight?" I was just like,
Roy,
oh, my God. Oh, my
Roy's
God.
Roy's a good guy. I like Roy. Roy was a terrific fighter. And hey, look, as long as Roy can keep on doing it, I just don't want to see him get hurt.
No.
So if these guys can make a few dollars, I don't think nobody's taking it serious. But I really hate to see Roy get hurt, because he got knocked out in one of those fights. That
by the big cruiserweight knocked him out.
Yeah, and he keeps going. So,
well, he did look like he was having fun on Friday, and we'll see. But Larry, great job. I appreciate your insight, and we'll look forward to you next week after some of the big fights from this weekend.
Okay, Billy, I look forward to it too.
All right, my man. Have a great one.
Okay, buddy.
That's Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard. We're going to take a short break and be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought. Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show right here on WGIG AM, Brunswick, Georgia. Glad to be part of your day today. and we're glad to have you part of ours. Well, it's that time again.
Blast from the past. We shine the spotlight again on fighters from years past.
top-ranking heavyweight. Joe Louis is the leading contender.
Joe Frazier with a left hook. Good right hand thrown by Foreman that time. Look at that left hook. That belt that goes to Ray Mancini.
It's Blast from the Past on Talkin' Boxing.
And this week's Blast from the Past, which is being sponsored by the Title Bout Championship computer game. Get yourself a copy right now by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Title Bout Championship computer game banner, which is on the left-hand side. You'll love the game. And the Blast from the Past is being brought to us by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out and join today. This week's Blast from the Past, which is another request, features an exciting fighter who a lot of people love to watch. And I had the pleasure of meeting this guy several times. None other than the Flushing Flash, Kevin Kelly, former world champion. And joining me right now to tell us all about Kevin is my man, Alex Perpali. What's up, Alex?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Before we get started with Kevin Kelly, I just wanted to give a shout out. You know, last week we did the blast on former world champion and boxing Hall of Famer Panama Al Brown, and I did it a week sooner than I had planned by my own error, because we have a listener, Mr. Stephen Barr, who's actually the grandson of an opponent that fought Panama Al Brown not once but twice, Dick Burke, and I just wanted to give him a shout out, because we kind of missed it. I missed that, Alex, and it's a shame, because it would have been nice to have. I wanted to get Steve on to give us some of the insight that, you know, was passed down to him from his grandfather.
Yeah, must be very cool to have a connection to boxing's past like that, like Stephen has. He did send us some information on Dick Burke, who was a featherweight who did fight. Who fought Panama Al Brown, and he was actually he was born Richard Dominic Burke on September 16th, 1912, in Liverpool, England. He fought his first professional bout when he was 16, after just 8 amateur contests, and he fought a total of 72 fights in a 5-year career, losing only 8 of them. Well, he lost only 8 of his first 58 fights, I should say. But yeah, he fought Panama Al Brown twice. Once in 1932 in December of 32 in Sheffield, England, and then he fought him again in May of 33 in Grimsby, England. And he also fought twice on undercards, Panama Al Brown undercards. So he you know, had a nice little friendship with Panama Al Brown. But their first fight, Panama Al won via points, a 12-round points win, and the referee was actually the great world flyweight champion, Jimmy Wild, and it was held in front of about 6,000 spectators, like I said, in Sheffield.
Great stuff, and one thing I'll add to that before we get into Kevin Kelly, Steve's grandfather, Dick Burke, was kind of a funny guy, because in that first fight you just mentioned, he hit the ground several times. As a matter of fact, he was down 7 times within the first 5 rounds, even though some of them were slips. But one of them, he got knocked out of the ring, and Dick said it years later that Al Brown knocked him out so far out of the ring that they had to pay him to get back into the ring, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, again,
pretty good. And he did have nothing but positive things to say about Panama Al Brown. He said that he was an amazing fellow, light as a feather on his feet, forever moving and flashing his long arms in at unexpected moments, and in jest. He used to tell his grandson, Brown stood 6 feet tall. I stood amazed.
That's good. That's good. Steve Barr, we appreciate you giving us some insight on that. And again, I apologize for the F-up. So Kevin Kelly, another exciting fighter. And since I announced we were doing Kevin Kelly, I received a lot of personal emails saying that Kevin Kelly was one of these guys that got a lot of people that are currently in their mid to late 40s and beyond into the sport of boxing because of his exciting style. Tell us about Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, the Flushing Flash. He was one of my favorite fighters when I first got into the sport. I started watching the sport in '85, and Kevin Kelly was one of the early featherweights on HBO, who really brought a lot of popularity to the lighter weight classes. In some ways, he was responsible for bringing some of the bigger paydays to those lower weight classes. And then, of course, the Prince really brought the big $1 million ones. He came around at a tough time because when it comes to tough featherweights, you had him, you had Gregorio Vargas, you had Derek Smoke Gaynor, you had Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales, Prince Nassim Hamed, a lot of talented guys at that weight class. So, that's part of why things probably shook out the way they did. But he was Kevin Kelly, born Kevin Philip Kelly. He was born June 29th, 1967 in Flushing, in Brooklyn, New York. He was born in Brooklyn, but raised in Queens. And he started boxing at 15 because he really wanted a jacket. There was a nice jacket, I guess, that a boxing jacket that one of the gyms offered, and the only one way to get it was to join the gym. Because he had already been able, he was being a New York City kid, he had sort of grown up learning to fight. The way he puts it, if you can't fight, you can't go outside. But once he wanted that jacket, he joined the gym, and pretty much that's where his boxing career began. His first trainer, and I believe they were together his entire career, and they really have a great chemistry. His trainer's name is Phil Borgia, and if you ever want to listen to some really good communication between trainer and fighter, Kevin Kelly's relationship with Phil Borgia is really terrific. In a lot of his fights, you're going to get a treat when you hear the two of them. Just the communication between the two of them in the corner is tremendous. They really know what each other's thinking. It's almost, and there's a lot of situations where that communication really did pay off, especially in fights like his first fight with Derek Gaynor, where he came back in the corner with a completely closed eye.
You mentioned his trainer, but another part of his team that I want to throw out there for everybody, because you'll know the name. His manager was Tom Loeffler, who's the main guy at K2 Promotions now, right? At least the U.S. affiliate for the U.S. part of it is Tom Loeffler. So I didn't realize that he was involved with Kevin Kelly, something that I picked up for this blast, So I'm glad to see that Tom has been in the sport for as long as he has. I thought he busted onto the scene with K2.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I didn't realize that either. Triple G's the guy behind Triple G. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Kevin Kelly was an exciting fighter. He had a 21-year career, which happened pretty quietly. I mean, he did not fight. Out of 21 years, he didn't have a fight in 2001, 2004, and 2007. But from 1988 all the way until his last fight in 2009, he was pretty busy, a pretty busy fighter. 72 fights. I mean, that just doesn't seem to happen as much. And like you mentioned, he had some pretty big wins. The first fight I remember watching him was against Troy Dorsey. And Troy Dorsey, for some reason, always sticks out in my mind because he was one of the first guys to cross over from from, I don't know if it was Muay Thai or whatever, and he ended up winning a title. But we got to see Kevin Kelly beat Troy Dorsey. He beat Bones Adams, drew with Bones Adams, actually, and Luis Espinosa, Derek Gainer, Edwin Santana, Jesus Salud, Orlando Fernandez. I mean, all some big names in the sport that he won against. Frankie Archuleta, later in his career, he had a big win over Humberto Soto, people have heard of. Jose Reyes, not the guy who plays for the Mets, but the fighter. And his last big win was Carlos Hernandez, who he beat in 2006. So he had some big wins, Alex.
Absolutely. And that, like you mentioned, that Troy Dorsey fight was really a tremendous win. That was back on the old Tuesday night fights with Sean O'Grady. And I believe at the time they set a punch stat record. Kevin Kelly has talked about that fight. Since then, you're right. I'm not sure if it was Muay Thai or what it was, or if they just plain called it kickboxing back then.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it was. No, you're right. It was kickboxing.
But yeah, Troy Dorsey had been a kickboxing champ. And at the time, he was the only. You're right. He was the only one who had been a successful champion
in
who
boxing.
Then transferred over and became a titleist in boxing.
Yeah, he was the first. He was the first. Yeah.
And yeah, that fight was just tremendous. Kevin Kelly has talked about that there was you could hit him, you couldn't hurt him. That man is not human was a quote I heard from Kevin Kelly about Troy Dorsey.
I know. Remember that fight? I remember that fight, and I was saying the same thing. I'm like, this kid is tough. I mean, he took. If you haven't seen the fight, Troy Dorsey took a hellacious beating from Kevin Kelly, and I don't think he put him. I think he did go. I think he did get an 8 count. It was the days of the standing 8 count, but I don't think he was put down. I think he won by decision in that fight, right?
Yeah, it was a decision,
Yeah.
and it was. It's just a tremendous amount of punches thrown. It is on YouTube for people who are interested. It's a really good action fight, and it did. It was fights like that got HBO interested in starting to feature those lower weight class guys, and actually, Kevin Kelly himself sort of petitioned HBO to stop covering so many heavyweights and start covering the smaller guys. And of course, that is what began in the 90s with his fight with Gregorio Vargas, which was a big win, was another good fight. And of course, it wasn't long after that he had the win over Derek Gainer, his 8th round KO of Derek Gainer. Remember, at that time, Roy Jones was also very popular, and when Roy would fight, Gainer was sort of his friend / protege, and they would fight on double headers. And I'm not sure if that was the case. I think it might have been, because that was in Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, Roy Jones fought Eric Lucas. I think his name was Luca, actually. In the main event, and on the undercard, Kevin Kelly fought Derek Gainer, and it was a back and forth fight. Gainer was knocked down in the 3rd, the 5th, and the 8th, and Kevin Kelly had been down in the 4th. And the thing about Kevin Kelly was he was a southpaw, real powerful, snappy puncher, but he liked to mix it up, and that was the problem in that fight. Was Derek Gainer, was fighting in front of his hometown crowd, and it was pretty interesting because right in that 8th round where Kevin Kelly's right eye is almost completely shut. But he's still, Gainer goes in and he's really fighting in close with him, and he's really digging some body shots. And George Foreman just mentions, you wonder why Gainer would even fight this kind of fight when he could very clearly stay on the outside and win. Bang! Huge left hand. Kevin Kelly nails Gainer with, puts him flat on his face and out. And George Foreman said, you got to stay out of your hometown. Because that was the thing, is that Derek Gainer got a little too excited. He figured, let me knock this guy out. He can't see me. I'm going to knock him out. that didn't work out.
I think that comments like that is why George Foreman went on to be so successful with his grill versus on HBO. But Derek Smoke Gaynor, you're right, was a big time fighter in his own right, and had several fights with Kevin Kelly. I think they fought 3 times, right?
Yeah, they fought again, and it was a much more cautious fight. Kelly won the decision.
So it's 1-1 in
Gaynor is he was fun early, but then once he started getting beat, he wasn't as fun to watch.
He reminded me so much of Antonio Tarver. I thought he even looked a little like him. But between Kevin Kelly and Derek Smoke Gaynor, it was 1-1 1 win each and 1 draw. So interesting. And he lost to some other fighters as well. I'm sorry, Clarence Bone Adams was the one he had to draw with. I messed up. He only fought. I guess he only fought Derek Gaynor twice, right?
Right. Right. But yeah, the fight, of course, that Kevin Kelly is most famous for, and rightfully so. They sort of brought the best out of each other. Was the fight with Prince Nassim Hamed, which was Hamed's sort of his coming out party here in the United States. It really stuck in Kevin Kelly's craw that Hamed was making so much more money than he was for that fight. He was angry, about how the promotion went as well. But that was the thing, is that HBO, they like stars, and they had put their money in Hamed. The way his whole shtick was something that they bought into.
Was that the fight that he came out on the flying carpet?
No, he came out on the flying carpet against Barrera.
Okay, and Marco Antonio Barrera. Okay, because that was the greatest.
He did have a very elaborate where he sort of danced his way into the ring at Madison Square Garden, and it took him, I think it was 8 minutes to finally get down to the ring, and it did annoy everybody. Really annoyed Larry Merchant. And Kevin Kelly went over to one of the neutral corners and just was waving at Hamed like, "Come on, come on!" So it does have a frustrating build-up, but then they get right in each other's face when Hamed finally gets in the ring, and the referee, I think it was Benji Estevez, tries to separate them. And of course, once that bell rings, boom, you get a tempest in a teapot, a 4-round exchange of knockdowns that was really impressive.
I tell you, that ring entrance from Hassim Hamed, the magic carpet one in, to me was the best. It was a toss-up between that one. I mean, Hector Macho Camacho used to come out with all crazy stuff, but the magic carpet from Prince Hassim and Jorge Arce when he rode out on the horse with a lollipop sticking out of his mouth. Those two ring entrances really stick out in my mind. But anyway, I didn't mean to get off topic, but they just popped into my crazy mind, Alex. But anyway, yeah, Kevin Kelly was an exciting fighter. Loved to fight. Loved the fight game. And after his career was over, he continued to stay in the ring. He would work. I met him actually face to face after his career was over, and he was in training camps. He was upstate in Bob Miller's training camp up near the Canadian border, and would basically stay there for weeks on end and help train fighters and spar with them and everything else. And always kept talking about a comeback, and he never did. I don't know what he's doing now. Do you?
I saw an interview on YouTube. He's a salesman. He sells timeshares. So he's just got a regular day job. So I'm sure he has some of his boxing earnings saved, but he is. I think he's a dad. I'm not sure how many times over, but he's married and he has children, and that's what he's doing now is selling timeshares.
And he also,
but yeah, that Hamed Kelly fight is pretty amazing. That's on YouTube. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 knockdowns in 4 rounds. So that's pretty impressive. They each knocked each other down 3 times.
And, Kevin Kelly, he fought everyone available to him. He came up, like I said, he beat Carlos Hernandez at the end of his career, but he did lose to some other names. David Rodella, who's become an experienced guy now, Vincent Escobedo, Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, like you mentioned, Prince Amin, Bobby Pacquiao. He didn't duck anybody even towards the end of his career. His last 11 fights is where he picked up 5 of his 10 career losses from 72 fights. So, his skills did start to diminish, and his last fight was a stoppage against Vicente Escobedo in 2009.
Yeah, his best weight was at 126 at featherweight, and after that fight with Hamed, he really wanted to move up. And for several fights, you see he's at 130, but what ended up happening was when, if you notice on his record, when there's bigger names, they wanted him to come back down to 126. When he fought Eric Morales, he had to go back down to 126. When he fought Barrera, back down to 126. So he was pretty drained. That was part of his problem at that time. But, those were big money fights, so they were hard to say no to. That's where he picked up a couple of stoppage losses.
Exciting fight.
He kept, like you said, he kept rejuvenating his career, because in there he had a win over Humberto Soto as well.
Yeah, no, I know. And Humberto Soto, when he had 22, when his record was 22-4-2, if you look up at his record now, he's got 60 wins. So it just goes to show you. But Kevin Kelly, exciting fighter, and not only did he appear on the Tuesday Night Fights, but he also was on network television as well. So he did get to. Many people got to see him in their living rooms because he did find his way on TV several times. But Kevin Kelly,
he was the main commentator on HBO's short-lived KO Nation, and I wish somebody would hire him because he was really good as a commentator, even though that show did not last very long.
It's funny, when you meet him in person, he's kind of a quiet guy, but when he gets behind a mic, he did do a good job. I forgot all about that. That's a great point. Who did you put him in against in title bout?
In title bout, I put him in against our current, the top 2 featherweights in the world who keep exchanging wins with each other, Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz. First against Carl Frampton. The first time they fought, Kevin Kelly comes up with a unanimous decision victory. He scored a knockdown in round number 12 to solidify things on all 3 judges' scorecards. One judge had it 115-113, another 116-112, and the third 114-113. When they fight 100 times, Kevin Kelly gets the best of him, 79 victories, 16 defeats, and 5 draws, with 16 wins by knockout. And of his 16 wins, Carl Frampton scored 10 knockouts. And then when he fights Leo Santa Cruz, the first time they fought, Kelly really dominated. He scores a 9th-round knockdown and goes on to win a unanimous decision, a score of 117-110, another of 116-111, and a third 119-111. When they fight 100 times, Kelly dominates, 84 victories, 11 defeats, 5 draws, with 30 big wins by knockout, and of Santa Cruz's 11 wins, 4 were by KO.
Kevin Kelly, is he a Hall of Famer?
There's guys with lesser records who have gotten in. He's got, how's he doing here against Hall of Famers? He fought Hamed with a loss, Barrera with a loss. Morales will get into the Hall of Fame, so that's another loss. So he's 0-3 against 3 Hall of Famers. I don't know. He's one of those guys that's right on the cusp. On a skimpy year, he might get in.
The based on title bout, he just beat the 2 top featherweights that we got out there now.
He beat him easy.
Yeah, dominated. 79, 16-5, and 84, 11-5 over 100 times. To me, that says he's a Hall of Famer. But that's my opinion. And if we're just going to judge by, how they did over other Hall of Famers, that's fine. But somewhere along the line, you're going to get guys in the Hall of Fame that are getting in because of the trinkets they won, and then we get into the level of opposition, and it gets kind of hairy. Basically just send the Hall of Fame some cash and you'll get in. But did I say that? I didn't mean it that way. But anyway, Kevin Kelly, he's a former world featherweight champion. He had a career record, 60 wins, 39 coming by knockout. He did have 10 losses in which he was stopped 6 times, but like I mentioned, 5 of those 10 losses came over his last 11 fights, which was obviously the end of his career. He had a couple of draws, 54% KO percentage, 447 rounds of the 72 fights he had. Kevin Kelly, our blast from the past this week. Great job as usual, Alex. And before I let you go, I wanted to ask you your opinion on the Adrian Broner fight. I know we talked a little about it already, but now that the fight is over, do you have any other thoughts on that fight? I mean, what did you think?
I tell you, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was an exciting fight. For me, I mean, I don't know. I've seen people refer to it as a black eye for boxing. Boxing can handle black eyes. Every decision that doesn't go the right way is not a black eye for boxing, in my opinion.
Well, it wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a robbery. It was a close fight. I mean, you can't say it was a
fight.
Yeah. So people are saying it's a robbery. I mean, I thought that Granados won, but I had it so close, 96-94, that, when you have a one-round difference, it could go either way, I mean, it's a judgment call,
Right, and I think what do we know is that very often when close fights happen, they break in the direction of the promoter. Well, that guy, the fight, not only was the fighter in the main event, but he was the promoter, and he's fighting in his hometown. So I think in some ways the deck was stacked against Granados. I think most people know, they know what they saw, and even if they did think Broner pulled it out, it was definitely a close fight.
What bothered me was the stats, and I'm not a big stat guy, especially since they're so subjective. But what bothered me is that it appeared to me, at least, that they weren't even counting punches that Granados threw, let alone landed. To come up at the end of the fight and to say that Broner threw more punches and landed more punches was pretty crazy to me when Granados clearly was pushing the action throughout the fight. And, maybe he wasn't landing as hard of punches, but he certainly was landing punches. So I don't know. I can't stand those stats. And once we can get the human element out, then I'll listen to him. One last question. I got to go. Deontay Wilder, Gerald Washington. Does Washington have a chance?
I think he has a chance. I mean, Wilder has a big, long layoff. And what we know about Deontay Wilder is very often when it looks like he's in easy, he makes things more difficult for himself. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes some rounds. Washington has hung in there tough with guys like Amir Mansour. So against a heavyweight like Deontay Wilder, who, as much as he's got a big punch, we still don't know a lot about him. I wouldn't be surprised if this fight will go some rounds before Washington caves in.
Great point. Alex, we'll look forward to you next week, brother.
All right, Billy C., take care.
That's Alex Papali, and doing a great job with the blast from the past. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, Sal and I will read another couple of emails and give you some final thoughts. And I got some baseball news. I'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would think.
Palla tagliata, messa fuori, c'è Pirlo.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show right here on WGIG AM in Brunswick, Georgia. Our newest affiliate. We're glad to be part of your programming today. And joining us again from the area of Brunswick, Georgia, is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, we got another email to read. I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Okay.
This one's from our buddy Joel. And we had just read an email from him to Larry, but he's got one to us. He says, aside from the 2 main televised fights scheduled to air this weekend, what undercard fights or fighters are you looking forward to? I tell you the truth. You know, the Deontay Wilder Washington fight, which we are doing a post-fight show on. You know, I'm looking forward to watching that fight, believe it or not. As much as critical as I am of Wilder, but the undercard has 2 other fights on it. The Jarrett Hurd versus Tony Harrison fight should be a good one in the junior middleweight division. But the heavyweight matchup between Dominic Breazeale and Izagbe Uganov is also going to be a good one. Breazeale is a guy that lost for the first time in his last fight, and Uganov is an up-and-coming fighter, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that fight. Breazeale is 17-1, and Uganov is 17-0, so I like that matchup. But the card that I really like, Sal, is not here in the States this weekend. It's coming to us from the UK. Gavin McDonnell against Ray Vargas for a vacant title. Luke Campbell against Yarrow Lopez for a silver title. I know you love all these titles. And,
well, I'll tell you.
and also on the undercard, Tommy Coyle against Raheem Noble. I like that card coming from the Ice Arena. No, not the one that you're used to, but this one's in Yorkshire in the UK. So I like that one as well. So I think we got some good fights scheduled for the weekend.
I think so, and I'll tell you what, we're in store for some good fights this year, and I'm looking forward to it.
We got a couple of really good ones coming up after this weekend. Next week we got Danny Garcia going up against Keith Thurman, and what a great segue, because I got some quotes from these 2 guys as they're getting closer to their March 4th showdown coming to you from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Keith Thurman. Now, I used to be a big fan of Keith Thurman, Sal.
I know.
I've really lost interest in him because this guy has taken on a persona that's not him, at least in my opinion. And
the diva route.
Well, let me read you some quotes, and you tell me if you know what I'm talking about. Keith Thurman. This is Keith Thurman. He says, "Well, you know, being the undefeated champion, and since I've never lost, you know, I feel strong. I have a strong amateur background, and so does he." He's referring to Danny Garcia. "I'm just bred for this sport. This is my life. This is what I love to do. I love to challenge. I love the fight game. I love another man trying to get the best of me right in front of me, going toe-to-toe with me. I just live for it, man. I'm bigger than Danny naturally. He was always smaller than me in the amateurs. He's smaller than me in the pros. He's moving up. He might hold his weight well, but naturally, I'm just a little bit bigger. So that gives me confidence there. That sounds like somebody else's words in his ear. He says, I have less fights and more knockouts. I believe I do punch harder, and that'll just edge him out statistically a little bit. It's going to come down to the fight. Who lands the right punches at the right time, the strength, the conditioning, and everything that's all about the fight game. What's your thoughts on that comment?
I don't have too much of a negative thought on that. I mean, if he's as passionate and as sincere to himself as he is to the fight game, then you know what? That's what we like to hear. But I don't like the comments about, Danny Garcia coming up, being less of a fighter, less of this, less of that. You know what? Promote yourself. Talk about all your attributes. And let your fists do the talking in the ring against Danny Garcia. Because Danny Garcia is a tough fighter. And we'll see who's the better fighter between the two. But I don't have too difficult of a time, Billy, with Keith Thurman's comments, saying his passion, his love for the game, that's what he's meant to do. I mean, there's some fighters that may take it over the top a little bit, but you know what? When you are in that ring and you're moving along and you're slipping those punches and you're gliding, the combinations are hitting the target, it's like, wow, you're in the zone, and it's a great feeling. It's a unbelievable feeling. Well, so if he's on some of your Furyk high of what he's done and what he's going to do, like I said, I just like when these fighters let their fists do the talking and don't put down another fighter because he's in there to win too.
I just take, first of all, I agree with you. And I like that he's passionate and he's showing some passion. You're right. You hit that right on. What I don't like about this comment is that he's putting the value in, I'm the champion, I've never lost.
Bingo, I agree with you.
Neither has Danny, but anyway.
I agree with you.
And the other part that, I stopped while I was reading it, is that I'm bigger than Danny naturally. He was always smaller than me in the amateurs. He's smaller than me in the pros. He might hold his weight naturally, but I'm just bigger, so that gives me the confidence mentally.
I don't like that comment.
I think that's someone else. I think that's someone else telling him, you're bigger, you're stronger, you're going to win.
Exactly.
And that's
a false bravado right there.
Right.
And
so
I know that.
And when a fighter needs that, and then carries that over to a quote, that means you're believing your press clippings, you're believing what's being whispered into your ear, and that, in my opinion, Sal, is one of the biggest problems we got in this sport.
Well, you know what? You hit that on the head, and I do agree with you with that 100%.
Danny Garcia, although his father is over the top, Danny Garcia is seemingly the blue-collar fighter, which I have always thought he was, seemingly taking the approach of this fight just like that, because he was not as winded as Keith with his comment. He says, I'm confident, I'm a true champion. I've been in these big fights before. I've been in unification fights before. I feel like I'm the better fighter, the better all-around fighter. At the end of the day, when Danny Garcia comes to fight, he comes to win. I'm the WBC welterweight champion. I've been in the ring with a lot of great fighters. I mean, I don't know what to take by that. That he's just, he doesn't want to, let the press do the talking. If he just wants to come in and fight, is he just happy to be there? What do you take by that?
I take it that, like I said, I think he's going to go in there and let his fists do the talking. And, you might see Thurman having to pick himself up off the canvas. Who knows? I like Danny Garcia. And I like Danny Garcia's approach where he's just going to come in the ring and recognize his opportunity to promote and to elongate his career on a top level. And I think this fight against Keith Thurman is going to be a great fight for both of these gentlemen. And may the best man win. But Keith Thurman, you better watch out because Danny Garcia is coming in that ring to roost.
Keith Thurman, I thought literally was scared to get in the ring with Sean Porter. And when he got the win, which you could argue, because
we could argue that was a great fight.
It was a great fight, and I thought that Porter won, but his whole demeanor changed. You know, I think that by winning that fight, you know, a lot of his voices in his ears kept saying, see, we told you, you're the better, you're bigger, you're stronger, blah, 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 blah. And since then, he's taken on that persona. He's a braggart these days. He talks a lot of smack, which I didn't think was part of his personality prior to the Sean Porter fight. And I think that, you know, he better not underestimate Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is a blue chip guy. He not only is he a blue collar fighter, but he's a blue chip. This was a guy that was brought up the best possible way you could be brought up. We had Danny Garcia on this show many times when he was a young up-and-coming fighter, which, incidentally, I got to break out some of those interviews because he promised he would come back on, and he hasn't.
Maybe he will after this fight. We'll get him on.
But he, you know, he was on the undercard of some huge fights. He's had much experience on the big cards and everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to the fight. And
I am as well. I think it's going to be a great fight. And, I'm sure we're going to be doing a post-fight show too. So, like I said, I if I was Keith Thurman, I'd be concerned about fighting Danny Garcia.
Yeah,
but concerned by being prepared. That's all I meant by that. You got to go in that ring to win both these fighters.
Yeah, they just posted in the chat room. Coach just put up a post-fight show that we did after Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. I forgot that we did it at your place, and Coach was there. Remember, that was the fight that Coach
We had it. Yeah, I see it right now in the chat room. We did it at the restaurant, and we had a great night that night. That was a good fight.
Yeah, no, it was. Hey, I got one last thing I wanted to mention before we wrap it up here, and this is out of the boxing world. It's in Major League Baseball. It was announced, well, not officially, but it looks like it's going to be announced for this season, Sal, the upcoming season. As you know, spring training is officially about to start as far as the spring training for the games. The pitchers and catchers are already there, and yes. Regular players, position players, are also at the camps down around your neck of the woods. They're certainly not able to play up here with snow still on the ground, but it's many sources have stated that Major League Baseball, specifically the commissioner, Rob Manfred, and the Players Union have agreed to alter the intentional walk. Now, as you know, the intentional walk is usually a sign that's given by the dugout, the coach, the whoever, and the pitcher then throws for balls, on-purpose balls to walk the batter for whatever reason. Maybe they want to load up the bases so they have a force out at any base. Maybe they don't want to face that batter. They want to face the next batter. Maybe they have a different pitcher-batter matchup that they like. Whatever the case is, the intentional walk is a part of baseball. Well,
part of the strategy, of course.
Well, they're talking about doing away with the 4-pitch. In other words, they're going to give the signal that they want to intentionally walk a player, and then they automatically put him on first base without the pitcher needing to throw the 4 pitches. What's your thoughts on this? Because I look at this and I say to myself, well, the one thing, yes, it's an intentional walk. Yes, the pitcher is going to intentionally throw 4 pitches out of the strike zone to get the batter on base. That's the goal, right? However, I've seen several times, more often than not, one of those pitches goes awry. And the catcher can't get it. Now all of a sudden it changes the complexion from the offensive side of the ball. Obviously intentional walk is a defensive strategy. From the offensive side of the ball, you get a wild pitch on an intentional walk. Maybe you advance a runner. Maybe it's the 3rd pitch or something. Maybe, or the 4th pitch, whatever the case is. It's just, it removes a piece of the game that's potential. The other thing is, and I've seen it not as, as often, but I've seen batters go after those balls. I've seen batters go after an intentional walk ball, and actually make contact. What's your thoughts about them just saying, hey, we want to walk this guy, walk him without actually throwing the pitches?
First initial reaction, gut feeling, I don't like it. Again, why are they going to do it to speed up the time?
That's exactly
in
right.
The game on
That-
a TV tube or
that's
what?
that's
That's exactly it.
That's exactly that's I should have said that before because I left you in the dark there.
You
That's
did, but I'm
that's
smart
the,
enough to figure these things out.
But that's the reason they want to try to speed up the game, and they're talking about the stats of intentional walks have been down, going down each year for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And they say that that'll only save them between 1 and a minute, 1 minute and a minute and a half overall for the overall length of the game. I mean, is that substantial enough?
No, I don't think it's substantial enough. And for you said the variables that are going to be missing in the game if they do this, I've seen batters as well step over a little bit to stretch out and hit that wild pitch or that intentional ball that was thrown. And also, Billy C., you are right on. How many times has a pitcher lackadaisically just throw that ball and the catcher, it tipped off his glove or something else, and it allowed the runners on bases to advance?
Right.
So again, it's a component that, again, why are they going to change the rules and regulations after 100 and something years of baseball for the sake of being efficient on TV? Get that out of here. Go back to your rules.
It's a strategic move. I get it.
Strategic move.
But other things can happen. That's like saying, hey, listen, we're gonna just punt. In football, we're just gonna punt. So rather than run 3 downs, we're just gonna punt.
That or hey, I'm not going to intentionally ground the ball. If you snap it, let's just call it a wait.
Well,
and,
they have.
And how many times has an intentionally grounded football by a quarterback been fumbled in between the hands of the two quarterback and the center? I was going for the center. It was right on the tip of my brain, Billy. See.
Well, I think in baseball, I think it's taken out a facet of the game that they should.
I agree. No, don't do it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't fix something that's not broken.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to slow down the game. Maybe don't let a batter straighten out his gloves and his helmet and his thing between each pitch. Maybe slow that down.
Wait a minute. Who holds the record for that? Come on, Billy C. Who holds the record for that? He was a New York Yankee. He was one of the skippers of the New York Yankee. I'll tell you right now, Thurman Munson, he had like 15 different moves. When he stepped in that batter's box,
Listen,
he'd have to adjust his hat.
David Wright takes 40 minutes to friggin' get ready to take a swing. Yeah, every swing he's fixing his gloves and everything else. So
I mean that's what they should do. Here's how you should actually get in the batter's box.
I know, and do it quickly. But anyway,
take your bat.
Hey, listen, I don't have any final thoughts. We got some great fights this week. I just can say this. Make sure you guys tune in the next time we air, which is coming up tomorrow. So make sure you tune in the same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.
That's my cue.